All right, Daniel, you gotta get off the screen. You're in camera. Michigan. I don't know if he's gonna win Wisconsin. Um, could we quickly check to see if Matt's video is being passed? Because I don't see his video on my screen. I don't want to make sure that our viewers can see his screen. Okay, it's just me. Okay, so can we fix that? Okay, Matt. Excuse to our viewers. We want to apologize one more time. While make sure that um, we have Matt's video as well. I'd like to give thanks while Daniel is doing that. I want to thank Daniel, first of all. I would like to thank Zara and Matze for lending us a lot of this equipment. I'd like to give special thanks to the U.S. Embassy, to Ambassador Traina for all the help they've given us. They've given us a lot of in the U.S. presidential election. We have some folders over here. Uh, we have some mock unofficial ballots for fun. A bunch of stuff. We're gonna give out a bunch of these things. I would like to also thank Miranda Patterson. She's the cultural attaché at the U.S. Embassy. She's also been very helpful, and they supplied us with these amazing electoral college maps, the tally sheet for the electoral college. I also would like to thank my mother. I'm joking. Matthew for joining from Vienna. We're gonna thank. Perfect. I'll do that. Okay. And this will. Can you double check that on this? On the. Okay. Perfect. So Matt, when you speak, I'm gonna switch the camera to manually to you, and when I speak, I'll pass it back to you. Apparently not. All right, Matt. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself? The camera's on you.
Hi, man. I'm Matt Stevens, and I'm one of the other members of the Young Americans Club. I'm here representing the members of the club up here in Vienna, and there are quite a few of us. And I've been up very late and downstairs watching the electoral results come in, and it was kind of a boring election. It was not a one-two punch. It was a long, slow march across the map. Um, it's like we can expect to wait quite a few more days longer. I think that Wisconsin is going to be an issue, and Biden has to have that in order to win. It looks like we don't know whether it's going to go to the Supreme Court or not. They may decline to hear the case and say that or they may choose to hear the case, in which case that's kind of a scary thought because they just added 3 new justices, and one of them hasn't even been there a month, and now she's ruling. So we'll see what happens.
Right. The super majority that they now have is a little frightening. So I honestly think that the only viable way to the presidency that Trump has at this point is attempting to steal the election by going via the Supreme Court of the United States. This kind of, Matt, in a lot of ways, this feels like a rerun of Gore and Bush in 2000. But I don't think the scenario is exactly the same. And like you pointed out, I don't think I'm hoping that the Supreme Court won't actually. Well, it depends on which state he's actually going to start litigation. Uh, Biden has, indicated that he has a team of lawyers. Mitch McConnell was earlier speaking about how this is a normal part of any democracy and that both sides are lawyering up. If I'm paraphrasing here, so and Biden has indicated that he has attorneys present in all the battleground swing states, and he's more than willing to fight. I hope he doesn't get there. It looks like he's going to win 270 to 268. He doesn't, really need Pennsylvania, as Matt was pointing out. But anyway, we had an hour of delay, so I'm gonna pass it back to Chris Magerl. I'm gonna put my mask back, and I'm gonna pass it to Chris Magerl, who has going to grace our Young Americans Club studio here with his wonderful music. I'm gonna pass it back to you, Matt, and you say a few words, and then I'll pass it to Chris Mago for the concert.
All right, well, I'm going to talk about a state that hasn't been called yet. That's Michigan. Right now, Joe Biden is up in Michigan by less than 100,000 votes. 94% of the votes in Michigan have already been tallied. And as I said, it's 49.6 to Joe Biden over Donald Trump with, let's see, how many remaining? 361,000 votes to go. Donald Trump would need a two-thirds majority of those votes to approach overcoming Joe Biden from the deficit he currently has, which means that will probably go to Joe Biden. Just looking at the exit poll, it looks like, do you think the presidential candidates have the temperament to serve effectively? They pretty heavily said only Biden. Okay. What else is interesting here? It looks like 61% of those who voted and answered the exit poll were in a household with a labor union, so majority labor union membership. I'm sure how much that is the vote.
I think you gotta make sure that
Alright, so
I'm not too loud, you know.
Chris, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I'm gonna 1 second. So
Everybody pray for mission.
Um,
quick introduction. Chris Magerl is keep a safe distance. Chris is one of, at least in my humble opinion, Austria's most able musician. I had the pleasure of meeting him in 2018 at the Sunnyside Festival. That's right after I'd gotten back from California, right after that psychedelic festival in Hungary. What is it called? The big one?
Siget.
No, the bigger one.
Oh, there's a bigger one. I don't know.
Big, really big one. I forgot it. But so he's performed at our Summer White Festival, our main flagship event at the Summer Festival 3 times. He's the only musician who has been invited more than once, let alone thrice. And it's because we love his music. So I'm not gonna put his music in a category. You're just gonna hear it. He sings in English, and yeah. Without further ado, I give you Chris Magerl.
Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. Water from cities disappear. Again we're taught to duck and cover. For a brief moment, peace seemed near, and we could learn to trust each other. Now there's a new face in the Oval Office. He's gaining wealth, selling missiles, guns, and rockets. The house always wins, changing the face of the world. And the lawyers of the devil make sure the truth remains unheard. The house always wins, changing the face of the world. And the lawyers of the devil make sure the truth remains unheard. They cut down 16,000 trees by the river in this city, and soon we'll all breathe thicker air. They claim what they did for the people, and not for some investors soon to be millionaires. But I don't really think they care. The house always was changing the face of the world, and the lawyers of the devil make sure the truth remains unheard. The house always wins, changing the face of the world, and the lawyers of the devil make sure the truth remains unheard. They just go on, leaving people confused. They buy more guns ask for more wars. Then rumors are spread, leaving people afraid. And the smiling faces in suits once more benefit from it. Will we watch our glaciers melt? Will we see oil spills in the Arctic? They say the city never sleeps, but I've seen people sleeping on the street. And day by day, I find new stories in the paper, based on lies, making people hate. We gotta stop it all before it gets too late. If you feel like singing along, then just sing along. It's pretty easy. It goes like this. The house must not win. 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 It must not win. The house must not win. We gotta let them know we're here. Let's fight prejudice and lies. Let our message be clear. The house must not win. We gotta think of something new, so our trees remain green and our oceans remain blue. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks again for inviting me. And yeah, I'm gonna play a couple of more songs. This next one I wanna dedicate to the family friends of the victims of the shooting in Vienna 2 days ago. It's a song called "When We Return." Perfect morning view. There are voices from next door. The smell of coffee from downstairs, and he lay there as if he was still asleep. Used to be there, now it's just her. She said one last time she needed to go there. And now our hearts, fire still burn. How will things be when we return? We look at our phones instead of into our eyes. Found new words for old things that make a mess of men. All around the globe, the lights never seem to go out in all these train stations that look like small cities. To be them. Now it's just her. She said one last time she needed to go there. And now our hearts, fire still burn. How will things be when we return? when we come back home as a different person. Everything we knew suddenly lost its meaning as we went back to zero. It used to be them, now it's just her. She said one last time she needed to go there. In our hearts, the fire still burn. How will things be when we return? How will things be when we return? How will things be when we return? Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you. Yeah, I got two more songs. The next one is a little less depressing.
I love when we return.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the new record whenever it comes out, because we had to postpone our studio for a second time now. It's gonna happen someday. Yeah, this is one that's called Whiskey and Beer. Me and some pop not far from my office, with a million good, not to drink around. Daddy old smoke like chimney soda, beer and some whiskey. I call that a package and claim that's the way to go, but it's not a special day. Just the right time to drink some hours Odin's Team Rudders first. We found black and white and believed it was colors. We won and we lost and we found confidence. It was not a special year. Just the right time to order some whiskey and beer. And on the streets, people start to walk faster, 'cause on the news they've been told to be afraid. And you say you're tired and bored of fighting this fight, 'cause facts don't matter or count. So it's just me and I'll go on after another round. Just here for a second, a short moment in time. They've got new names on the walls, new phones in their hands. On my way home, I noticed new buildings and people using some words I can't understand. To have conversations over whiskey and beer. And on the streets, people start to walk faster. On the news, they've been told to be afraid. Now you say that you're tired and bored of fighting this fight, 'cause facts don't matter or no. So it's just me and I'll go on after another round.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank
Chris
you.
Nagel, everyone. Chris Nagel.
Thank you. So this is gonna be my last one. But
I think it's gonna be my favorite song.
Probably, because you asked me to play. So, but it was. I think it was. I think it's a good idea to play tonight because I think this whole thing, there's probably gonna be politicians who are going to use or try to use everything that's going on at the moment, like the pandemic, the shoot, and I say let's let's try not to turn against each other. Let's try to like overcome fear and hate as a society. And so this is a song about that. It's called "Raise a Question." And yeah, to all of you at home, um, have a good night or afternoon wherever you are. And yeah, thanks again. A piece of paper is patient all the time. A pen never says, come on, hurry up, it's freezing outside. It takes a long time for them to decide, but it will snow soon and there is no shelter. You can try, but some things you can't compare. You say not everyone's fine here either, as they are dying there. It's too easy to say it's not our problem, it's not our fault. It's not us against them. Let's raise a question. Raise a question. Raise a question. Raise a question. This how you want to be seen. Because this is what the world will remember. It's access denied, or all access granted. When you and your family was dying, we used to hiding in the ruins, wait for more bombs to arrive. Negotiations are patient all the time, but fuck this patience, let's raise a question. Raise a question. Just ask the right questions. Is this you? 'Cause this is what the world will remember. It's access denied, or all access granted. Is this who you wanna be? Is this how you want to be seen? This is what the world will remember. It's access denied, or all access granted. Is this who you wanna be? Is this how you want to be seen? This is what the world will remember. It's access denied, or all access granted. wanna be? Is this how you want to be seen? 'Cause this is what the world will remember. It's access denied or all access granted. Is this who you wanna be? Is this how you want to be seen? 'Cause this is what the world will remember. It's access denied or all access granted. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Can we do a sing along with the last part without the guitar, just the part where you do the thing, you hit,
Sure.
and we all sing it together?
Sure.
It's my tradition of Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas
okay.
songs.
Is this who you wanna be?
Everyone, let's go!
Is this how you want to be seen? 'Cause this is what the world will remember. It's access denied or all access granted. Thank you. Thank you.
Watching us on YouTube, the link is everywhere. We're going to continue with our live election party. We have a speaker coming up, and we're going to have live panel Q discussion. The concert is over, so without further ado, all right, Matt, are you still with us? Okay, we lost Matt. He's coming back. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the election, see if we haven't missed anything. Oh, Matt, you're still here. Perfect. So, what a concert, huh? Unfortunate, unfortunately, we won't be able to do this outside because of the current lockdown. But we're all doing our part, following the regulations, wearing masks, and making sure that we can go out at some point. Anyway, and you were you watching the tally movements while we were playing, or while Chris was playing?
Nothing really other than the head of the RNC is saying that she believes that for the uncounted ballots in Nevada and the uncounted ballots in Arizona, that they do have a path. Nevada has not yet been called, and neither has Arizona, not on the ABC. And the head of the RNC says they think they've got the votes, the mail-in votes that are uncounted to overcome it. I think that's probably not true. But so, I guess long story short, it looks like the path to 270 will end at either 270 or 271 for Joe Biden, unless he happens to also pull ahead in Pennsylvania.
Matt, your bandana's up. We can't see your lips.
So, what I was going to say is Pennsylvania so far looks like it's going for Trump, but there are actually people optimistic that Biden may win Pennsylvania as well. If that happens, Biden gets Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I believe he will have enough to make it to over 270.
Matt, I'm gonna sorry to cut you off. I'm just reading some of the comments on our YouTube live stream. It seems that the Biden's campaign is going to make a statement in about 7 minutes at 7:45 European Central Time. Vienna, Germany time. Yeah. So we're excited. I actually have um we have Arizona's tallies right now. So looks like Biden's at about 51%. So have if there's any point of discussion that you'd like us
How's the
to.
audio now? I had to move the mic. How's it sound?
Your audio's fine. Yeah, your audio's fine. I can hear you well.
Okay.
Daniel, we're gonna get. I'm gonna pass it back to Matt. Matt, if you could take it.
Phil says nobody can hear me. Is that still true?
I'm gonna. So we Daniel. I'll get Daniel. 1 second. I need to fudge with this a little bit. Like I said, this is the most amount of equipment. 1 second. We're fixing it. So, Daniel, I need you now. We can't. Nobody can hear Matt. So his audio is not coming. We just need to go to OBS and make sure it's syncing audio. That's professional mic you have.
No, it's good, Mike.
It's a good mic. Okay.
Put it closer to your mouth, near your mouth, like a little bit closer.
Yeah. Can you do a test? Can you put it a little closer to your mouth and do a test? We're
Okay,
checking
keep
the.
talking. I'm gonna test it. Keep talking.
Okay, no, we've heard from several people. Nobody can hear him. Okay, he's gonna test it now. Anyway,
The Skype audio output as a source in OBS. These are what the experts in the internet are saying.
okay, say that again. We need to do it as an output source.
In OBS, audio source in
We need to
desktop audio.
we need to put it select an output in OBS for his audio. That's the desktop audio. You see, that's him. So, hey, can I switch back and forth between these two? Do I need to do the same with the video? Because we have the audio track here.
All right, I'm gonna leave you to it.
Okay. So because we're gonna have other speakers as well, so we need to be able to make sure
Yeah,
there's enough audio.
I'm trying to think. Okay, how you talk?
Hi. Um, we're just doing a sound check. We would like to apologize to all of our viewers.
Test 1, 2. I'm still talking. I'm still here.
Okay. If anyone can hear Matt, Matt is speaking right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Can anyone hear? If anyone can hear Matt, please write something in the comment section. And I will monitor. Okay. I have a comment from Yao. Gotta add the Skype output for internal mic on an audio source in OBS. As an audio source in OBS. We have a phone call. Is hello? Is this? Yeah. We have tech support on the phone. Yes. Ja, sein Desktop-Audio ist da, aber wie kann man es üben?
Ah, audio
Okay.
capture.
Yeah, we have it. We have it. Create a new one. Yes. Okay. This looks promising. Wait, wait. I'm the one too. Yeah. So this is the microphone. The microphone. Oh, it's gonna capture his through my speakers.
No, we're going to do that
Now you can hear
separately.
me. I'm talking.
If anyone, so if anyone can hear Matt, yeah, continue doing that, Matt. So
Anybody hear me?
keep saying that.
Hmm?
Gelbe was?
Fix it.
Gelbe was muss kommen?
Anybody? I'm still talking.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Still talking.
moving yellow bar. What is a moving yellow bar?
No, dude,
Can you
it should
should
be
hear?
better now. Wait.
Nobody hears me.
Yeah, yeah. But now we
Dude,
can
it's
hear
fine.
him.
It's fine now.
Now it's fine. Try him.
Yeah?
Can you guys hear him now?
Matt, can you speak?
Try me.
Yes,
Talk.
yes. I can see colors. And but my colors are not working anymore.
You have to switch the scene.
All right.
You're
So-
the second scene.
No audio.
And now, so only he will have audio only when he has seen. Okay. Matt, we have your audio now.
Are you sure?
Yes, we just tested it. People can hear you on the live.
Check the live feed.
Yeah, yeah. He just checked the live feed. We tested it. You're on.
I can't hear
Do we have Matt's audio?
No.
Yeah, they have you. They can hear you.
Well, I'm watching it live and I don't hear me.
What? Can you speak, Matt?
Yeah, I'm talking right now and I'm not hearing me. I can hear myself in my headset, but when it plays through,
No, Matt, I can hear you. I'm Matt. I'm listening to you right now.
okay, I'm telling you, I'm playing
Matt. I'm listening to
YouTube
you right now.
in the background and I can hear you talking on YouTube, but I can't hear me talking on YouTube.
No, I can hear you, Matt. You're Matt. We three people tested. You're fine. I just
No,
heard
Philip just wrote, we can't hear Matt. Here. Nope.
Matt. Those are old comments. Can you, Matt? I just heard you on my phone.
Really?
I just checked, tested it myself. Daniel just tested it. You're online. Can you continue, please?
I'm not hearing me.
That's okay. Everybody.
Can you continue, please? Well, I'm telling you,
That's
I
okay. Wait.
tried
Can we? Okay.
your
Can
browser.
we not hear Matt?
What?
Can anyone hear Matt?
Can we not hear Matt? Can anyone hear Matt?
Daniel.
No.
People can't hear Matt. Nobody can hear Matt.
Right.
Daniel.
People can't hear. Nobody can hear Matt.
Nobody can hear me.
All right. Nobody can hear Matt.
Barely understandable. What about if I
What
hold
did
it?
you?
Well, Matt, the problem is I have a professional microphone. You need to get much closer to your microphone. We have your audio, but really bad.
Very, very
Yeah. So when I listen to my phone, I can hear you on my live, like watching it as a viewer.
Skype. You can hear me on Skype.
No, not on Skype. 'Cause Skype is on my laptop. I hear you through my phone when I look at the live video. Can you speak now? Daniel wants you to speak.
Okay. Yeah, I'm talking, but it's not coming through on my end.
All right. One more
Nobody
second.
can hear me.
I can hear you, but really, really bad. It's really bad quality.
Well,
Is
I can hear you, but really, really bad. It's really bad quality on my laptop, so I know that the mic's picking it up okay.
I can hear you on the. So I'm on the live now on my phone, and I
Okay.
can hear
I
you
can
through
hear
my
you on
phone,
this. So
but the
I'm on
quality
the
is
I'm on
really low. It's quality.
and
So
I
do
can
you have your
hear you through my phone,
microphone
but the quality's really
settings,
low.
like your
So
microphone
do
volume
you
set to
have
high?
your
So I'm
microphone?
gonna blast them off.
Okay. So he's giving you some artificial decibels.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to crank it up. But
Yeah, we're cracking you up.
Crank it up. Is this you?
how about sound?
Louder,
I just
Loud,
turned the
yeah.
mic up.
louder. Yeah, yeah, loud, very loud. So let's
That's really
see.
loud.
So everybody, can we hear Matt now?
No.
Wait, I'm asking you, Matt. You're just automatically saying no. That's not it. If you already know the
You
answer.
mad?
Just bring it up. Just
Can
bring
you?
it up.
Can I ask Gary to get his aux cable, please?
Wait, I'm trying to close this.
So the live stream is frozen, by the way.
Why?
No, it's back. All right. So look, I can hear my own voice in my headphones, so I know the mic is okay.
Yeah, we're gonna put you on speaker.
Audio, hear me on your end, so you know the transmission over Skype is okay.
Yeah, I can also hear you on the app, but somehow when I hear you on the app, so I can hear you on the live stream, but
Okay, well,
I can hear
just
you.
put him on the
Second
speaker.
browser window,
Yeah,
go to the YouTube live stream.
Carol, can you give me an aux cable, please? Yes, please. So what I'm gonna do, I have a homemade solution, Matt. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put you on my speakers connected to my laptop. So basically, every time you speak, you're on blast. Yes, because so the issue seems to be with the microphone, with with your microphone, because so I'm receiving your audio. I have your audio, and I can hear it also on my phone when I tune into the to the live stream. The problem is it's very low. So even trying cranking it up and giving you some artificial decibels, but it just kind of distorts to quality. So I am going to connect you with this massive box and crank you up all the way through my so basically my microphone will pick you up then. Thank you so much. Perfect. So we have speakers, Bluetooth audio. Good. So Matt, can you speak now?
Yeah, on YouTube live stream now. I'm gonna reload. Sweet.
Good. So you're
Okay,
you're
I can.
good. So
Sounds okay.
a guest now. Um, Yael, are you ready to join us? And we call Yael, who's one of our guests. Could we reduce noise back there, please? So, okay. So Yael, we're ready for you. I'm going to Matthew. What do you say we pass it to Yael?
Yeah, yeah, on the line. Can you hear me?
Y- No, he's not on the line yet. I'm gonna add him now.
Is that too loud?
No, no. Your audio is good. The louder the better.
All right, we're talking just so you know. There's another voice on the line.
How do we make this full screen? Damn it.
All right,
This is starting to get on my nerves.
is that coming through?
1 second, Matt. I gotta make you full screen.
Full screen that shit.
Matt, damn it.
Screen that shit.
I'm doing it. I'm trying. Daniel,
Yep, there was a little blip. You did something.
how do I make this damn Skype full screen again? I need to make it full screen.
Make it full screen.
Yeah, so we haven't had that statement by Biden yet. Uh, that's what I have to click on. Oh Jesus. All right. And okay, so yes, I apologize for the colorful language. Okay, Yael, we are ready for you. So Yael is group, I guess, new group chat with Matthew and Yael.
Okay, I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm muting the mic, and I'm gonna stop the video, but I'm gonna still be on the call. Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, Matt. So see you. You're still gonna be on the call? Okay. All right. Do you have Matt? All right. So Yael,
All right.
welcome to
It's okay.
I think there's obviously a lot of focus there and a lot of ink being spilled. For me, and I think that's why you brought me on, it's a little bit of a different perspective. I'm looking at the ballot measure. So we actually look at your home state in California, passed Prop 22, which actually allows Uber, Lyft drivers to be classified as independent contractors, which is huge. We legalized cannabis in Arizona, New Jersey, South Dakota, and Montana. And we have actually medical marijuana in Mississippi. And then you have decriminalization of magic mushrooms in a couple states, Oregon and also in DC. So I think it's pretty interesting.
wow,
That's
magic
what I've
mushroom.
got my eye on.
It's very progressive. That's progress, to be sure.
Right. I mean, I'm kind of just worried about the outcome in general of the election. It's pretty much certain for me, at the very least, that Biden is going to win the Electoral College. How much of these, progressive, things that y'all were just pointing at, how much of these would rely on a Donald Trump or a Biden presidency? Are they dependent on how do you think those specific measures that you mentioned would look under another 4 years under Trump?
Well, basically, if let's say Trump is elected, which is probably like 35% chance at this point, uh, these are all state measures, and most of them are binding and passed in the state, and sometimes they do need some kind of um, legislation that's passed by the state houses or the state senates in order to proceed. But most of these are kind of gold. So we are going to have cannabis in South Dakota and Montana. Who thought that would ever happen? Which is pretty interesting. And then for psilocybin, for magic mushroom, that's huge. Oregon as well. They actually do criminalized all drugs, so that's also cocaine, heroin,
Really,
anything. So now,
Oregon? I didn't know that.
oh yeah, Oregon is now the most and most socially liberal place in the entire country. I think that's great. I definitely am in favor of that, and it's really interesting for Oregon to do that. Obviously, Oregon had a big focus a couple months ago with everything that was happening in Portland. But I think that's really cool. When it comes like to the vote and Trump and Biden, I mean, it's difficult to say because it's all counting and it's all county clerks and people that I don't have on speed dial, and neither does anyone on Twitter or Facebook, fortunately. But yeah, at least for me, I look at these are the kind of things to focus on because this is what is really matter at the end of the day, and actually is going to help increase freedom a little bit places. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's going to be really cool. California had a bunch of ballot proposals, so those are really
Hmm.
interesting to look at. Some things on tax increases, rent control, these kind of things. So those went various ways, but that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited.
So here's a weird one. In Utah, they passed an amendment to make slavery as a form of punishment illegal,
Yeah,
which meant it being outlawed essentially in Utah.
yeah. I think that, as far as I know and I understand, and my friends in Utah tell me, that was basically just about changing the language. So it's not really going to change a policy, but it's just to say that they don't have, essentially slavery written in the in the law when it comes to punishment. And so that's big. And I guess we're kind of related is in Rhode Island they officially changed their name. So use the kind of stuff that I think is, at least we have a definitive answer on. And then it's just the House and Senate. And Senate looks like Republicans will keep it, though it's very close. And to really understand, I think all of us live in our own bubbles, right? But many people saw that coming.
Well, one of the things about to keep in mind about the House is that a lot of the posters and a lot of the people analyzing the results were talking about how um, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats were actually used to win a lot of these House votes, and then now this is not the what any of the posters were kind of promising, and which is kind of circles back to the problem we have with polls, exit polls, which are basically any other polls, can be manipulated by outside forces online, cyber election manipulation. So with the Senate as well. So right now I think it's still 47-48, is it? So Lindsey Graham kept his seat, and he was
Yeah, which is insane, by the way.
which
So much money that was spent.
every turn, and he was raising money like there's no tomorrow. But it was interesting that he was able to keep his seat. The challenge from Joe Ossoff in Georgia is also something to keep an eye on, but I don't think it's going to come to fruition. What do you think?
No, doesn't look like it.
And Georgia's strange. They have the runoff system. So this
Right.
isn't even the final vote. We'll have the final vote
In
probably in December.
December? Yeah, okay.
But it's crazy. I just visited my brother. He's right outside of Atlanta, so he's in Cobb County,
Oh,
one
wow.
of these important places where they're still bringing in the vote. And there it's Marietta, so it's it's a bit richer. Typically tends to be kind of Trump territory. I was really surprised by the amount of just kind of pro-Trump stuff. And I think that one thing that will be analyzed and we'll be hearing about is a lot of people were poo-pooing the idea of the shy Trump vote or the shy Tory vote, which they have in the UK. I think it was really true. And at the end of the day, it was pretty true because there's a lot of people who don't have Trump signs, a lot of people who never got calls from pollsters and probably went with Trump. If we remember the polls, like you said, they were slanting in most of these states for Biden. And that's really, I don't know. Look, I know a pollster in Arizona, so his firm actually called it correctly, that it would be like a barely Biden win. And it's a tough business. It's really hard to figure that out. And it's in their motivation, it's in their incentive to provide good numbers. So I think there's going to be a lot of mass firings for the rest of these pollsters. It's a good time to start a polling firm, by the way. You guys are very entrepreneurial.
Well, isn't it harder and harder to actually reach an appropriate sample just by doing landline and cell phone outreach?
I think that I've commissioned a few polls, at least 3 or 4 states in different countries, and you do have the issue that sometimes they are landline polls, but the ones that we've used are cell phone, which are at least a bit better. But it's all in the weighting that they do, and that's really where and try to reach it depends on how you ask the question. It depends on what other questions you have in there. It's going to be really tough. Yeah.
What about the sort of pre-filtering that occurs based on whether or not someone would even answer their phone when that kind of a pollster calls? A lot of people won't answer their phone, even just because they don't recognize the number. Does that skew the results, and is it difficult to understand how your population is skewed when you don't know how to weigh the reach?
Yeah, and that was Steve Kornacki, who's the big NBC poll analyst, election guru guy. He was the guy with the whiteboard last night. What he was kind of saying is, whenever you're reaching these people, you have people who will pick up the phone. It'll take them a while. But yeah, it tends to be people who are older, who are at home. Pandemic kind of changed that, but then again, not really. But I still think that, at least we all use our ID, phone at all. If they send me a text message, actually, it'd be pretty good, which are experimenting with some areas. But I don't know if you guys still have a U.S. phone active, but I have a Google Fi. So for my polling place is in North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. Hilarious, by the way, because it was one of the polling areas in North Carolina, one of the 4 where they couldn't figure out how to work the printer. So they actually had to open up an hour later.
Is that the county that had that had a trouble? 15,000 ballots, and these weren't even like mail-in ballots. These were, people's ballots that could not be read by the machine.
Yeah, well, definitely it happened throughout Wake County, which is where Raleigh is. So a huge population center, mostly Democrat. It happened there. Able to send that in, but that took a lot of research, guys. Not everybody reads all the ballot people. That I was a bit more interested in because I knew some of the people running, some of the raise your property taxes, or people who don't get things fixed up when you're downtown or something. I think that stuff is pretty important, but yeah, so many of these votes, it only comes down to a couple hundred. And when it comes down to the state offices or state house, I haven't looked at the numbers as to state houses and state legislators. It looks as if it mostly stayed the same, at least in North Carolina, it stayed Republican. But there are a couple of states where it's probably a toss-up.
Yeah, one of the things that has been really interesting to me, like you mentioned that you did a federal write-in ballot, and a lot of I want to say predominantly Republican states. A lot of people that I know personally didn't really receive a ballot till very last minute, and they ended up doing a federal write-in ballot. Why? Well, do you know why yours wasn't? Why yours didn't arrive?
So yeah, I use a mail forwarding, and I was supposed to have it by Monday. It just didn't. They did send it on time, so I might have ordered a bit late, but I knew that I had that other option, so I was not too worried about it. But it is true, if you really want to get your thing mailed to you in time, if you're living abroad, I'd have done it sometime in early October, even September, perhaps August, if your state allowed it. I know it was very difficult, and I know you guys put in a lot of effort, trying to help people get their ballots in and figuring out the system. I thought it would have been a bit here. We're not too far away from the embassy. I thought there would have been something, that allows you to check in, or they have their own booth.
They
Just
had they
to
had a
sort of
box. They had so what happened?
an
They
option.
had a box. They had a ballot box at the consulate. They had one at the embassy as well. Now here's where the confusion starts. Had the one at the consulate by your local precinct or your local county, register of voters. It'll be um it'll be about 3 weeks. So they basically it was supposed to be October 2nd here in Austria in Vienna. That I think end of September with a bunch of other ballots of Americans living in Graz and in other parts of Syria, and mine was received about 2 months later. Um, there's a lot of states offering so this a lot of them because of the pandemic, and a lot of them just because they're getting with the times. And Nevada was offering email voting or online voting. Iowa was offering Nevada, Iowa, Washington, I believe. There's a couple of states, like you mentioned. Was it North Carolina? You said was offering. Yeah. So I'm kind of it's just mind-boggling and flabbergasting to me that California does not offer that. My options were
Yeah.
mail or fax.
Well, I'm open to what they do in Denmark and Estonia, where you are able to vote online. It's a bit different because they have e-resident cards, or resident everyone is required to have, which I guess they could technically do in Austria with the e-cards. It might be something in the cards soon.
They
With
have the handy
Estonia, at least they've
signature.
had with the mail-in ballots, but at least they should have scanned a lot of these earlier, or done a lot of this much earlier.
This just in, I have some breaking news to share with you guys. So it seems that Senator Susan Collins of Maine has been she was able to keep her. This was a crucial pickup for the Democrats that really wanted the more some of the more recent and more controversial votes that the Republicans had. So I think even the vote on the Supreme Court justice nomination and confirmation. I mean, the nomination was by the president, but the confirmation, there was one Republican that abstained. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that Susan Collins?
I don't know about that actually. Let's look it up here on the
Because
fly.
it was almost along party lines. It was almost exactly, all the Democrats were nays, all the Democrats voted against it, all the
No, she
Republicans.
actually voted. She voted no. She
Okay,
voted no
so it
for
wasn't. She
making
didn't
it voting
abstain.
there.
Okay, good. So there was one no. Yeah, and she's been pivoting a little more to the center these past couple of months. And when during Donald Trump's she also kind of played both sides. She made a couple of comments that put everyone on pins and needles. And she kind of wanted. Excuse me. Okay, so this was a phone call. I apologize for that. Yeah, so she kind of kept everyone on pins and needles about if she was going to deviate from Republican the unanimous vote that Mitch McConnell was promising. So yeah, this was just in 7 minutes ago, and it seems like the
Yes. So one thing that's interesting about that is Maine, at least, it's a pretty independent culture, political culture. So she actually doesn't run as a Republican. She runs as an independent, and then caucuses with the Republicans. I think that's why she voted in now. I don't know how many years, but a lot of these senators, and Bernie Sanders is another example. He was always elected president, and then would caucus with the Democrats, which is an interesting thing. It's really only happens in the Northeast. It's a totally different kind of political culture there, and it's a bit more local. Definitely a lot more bipartisan there. So it's kind of cool and interesting. It's Maine and Nebraska. These are the two states where the electoral vote is actually split. So most of the other ones are all winner take all. So if you get the majority, all of them. But Maine and Nebraska, they actually split it up by congressional district. So there's a chance that you can have Joe Biden that has two electoral votes from Maine, and then Trump has one. I think right now they're all
term as a senator from Maine. He has been serving as a senator from Maine's party as a senator since 1997, and she's 67 years old. So, this is a perfect segue into one of the conversation topics we had by one of our Austrian listeners. So, in terms of changes, and some constitutional changes, some changes to the electoral college and to how we elect our president are long overdue by most accounts. Most Americans agree, overwhelmingly agree we need to make some changes. So, um, what are some of the changes that you guys, and I will also share my opinion on what I think, um, are some changes that are badly needed? Matt, I want to pass it to you. What are some of the changes that we need to kind of make sure that this kind of polarization doesn't happen? Then also we don't have a situation like in 2000 with Al Gore and George W. Bush. We don't have a situation where the Super decide if there's going to be a recount or if this person becoming the elected official, the president, is actually also the person who won the popular vote.
And that can stave off elections, which I think if you're looking at a Texas flipping Democratic in 2024, that might be it. There were, I think, the Equal Rights Amendment was Virginia. I could be wrong. So that Equal Rights Amendment for women is a big deal if Biden is elected as president, and there's some way to move that forward. That may be the kind of thing that drives a lot of loyalty for the next 2022 election. I don't know. So that's something I would think about is what's the order of operations to drive more people to the upcoming election after this one? And what are the kinds of policies that are going to activate people? Because it looks like to me, turnout way. And now the other thing, I think any savvy politician should be thrown out there in the middle of a crisis like this is the need to perhaps mirror some of the laws in Western democracies, including
Wait, we can see him
their
now.
civic responsibility in
We
a
can
much more
see him
serious
now.
way than maybe they had before.
How did it work?
And yeah, I don't understand why a lot of politicians don't propose that as part of their platform. I think it's needed now, putting young people to work and giving them a
Yeah,
path
we
to
can see.
get an advanced degree, not necessarily having the money for it.
I probably wouldn't have voted for you, but that's fine. I agree though with the redistricting. So at least in North Carolina, the state I grew up in and was most familiar with, we've had a lot of
I've tried
debate
all of
over
those.
the
It
redistricting, and
doesn't
they
work.
do have a new map for this year.
It's okay.
Because the other maps are insane. They're mandated by a lot of federal lawsuits in the Justice Department. I think it's gotten a bit better. My district is just east of Mecklenburg County, Charlotte area, so it's a bit more representative. Call it red, so it goes. But I do think redistricting, mostly bipartisan committees, I think that's a good idea. I see no reason to do that. Most of these House legislatures, whenever they're trying to draw up the maps, they just have bias, right? Because they want to get their guys reelected or want to make sure that they can keep the majority. It probably should never be politicians anyway. There should be some kind of committee that, it's former judge like this. When it comes to have this in Born, and we definitely don't have this in Austria. So I think electing judges is something that's pretty bad. I was very surprised voting for judges throughout my life that they would have a party late. I don't even know how long she's been in DC, but it's a long time. And you amass a lot of power. So essentially the country is run by, a couple of 75-year-olds.
So no, I want to touch back on what you said about term limits, is because so you made a comment about a bunch of 70-year-olds. So we've had the two senators. One of them is going to be the vice president now, and the other,
Really?
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt.
Kamala Harris. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say they just called Wisconsin for Biden.
Yes. Wisconsin's 99% in, and he has more than a half a point lead. So there is no way that mathematically impossible for Donald Trump to close that gap now. So yeah, Wisconsin just went
So
for Biden. So I think
and
this
Trump campaign is also definitely going to request a recount for Wisconsin
right. Well, they're good.
for no reason.
Donald Trump has
Nothing
indicated he
spectacular.
actually already called. I watched the speech. So Biden made a statement at midnight, which was actually very smart because he set the narrative on how he said, "Look, there's a lot of votes to be counted. We're still not going to declare anything until every single vote has been counted." Bernie Sanders has been doing the same thing on social media on that much. and a lot of the a lot of the journalists kind of also commented that there was this, and I'm paraphrasing here, melancholy to the way that he was kind of talking. He actually at some point even thanked some of the media and the press, which was very
What?
un-Trump like. Right?
For
Yeah.
what?
From
For what?
from the White House, which was very so this is something that's
Wait,
never.
from where? I mean, why would he thank the press?
Yeah, which was very, very out of character. But he
Yeah.
was he had this event. Obviously everybody who went to the White House today, they had an event of like 300 to 400 people. And but so he came out at 2 a.m. Eastern time, and I actually listened to his it was this morning here in Austria. I was at work, and I had the CNN live stream on, so I was listening to his speech, and he basically came out and he said, well, we were getting ready to party, we were getting ready to have this party. Sorry, he said that his campaign was kind of disappointed because he said there was a sad group of other people who are trying to steal the election, and he said we were going to win the election. Well, actually, you know what? We did win the election, and a lot of the foreign media immediately picked up on that as kind of like a unequivocal
I think
minister.
retweeted it too. Yeah.
It's weird. Oh my
Yeah, the
god.
prime minister of Slovenia came out and congratulated, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I think if this was Chuck Todd or um, I don't know who this was. I think it was Chuck Todd who said it's kind of like going to a basketball game. Oh, I think it might have been Trevor Noah who said, it's kind of gonna like going to a football game, and you kind of say, well, we don't have to play the fourth quarter because we're ahead, and what if the fourth quarter changes the results of the game? And he's like, these are not the results if the game hasn't ended yet, which is pretty interesting. So no, absolutely, he's definitely going to. He definitely said that they're going.
Everybody guys process as a lawyer. It's all lawyers. It's all law. It's all very complex stuff. If it comes down to this, I mean, I hope it doesn't come down to weird statutes and some regulation about whatever. But that's what it looks like it's going to come down to. And then it's just like, who has the better legal team? Who has the quicker and the smarter lawyers? Not what you want in any situation at all. These are guys who are paid to argue and nitpick and find loopholes and stuff like.
To what we were discussing before about things we'd like to change. So getting big money out of politics, and again, this comes back to what you were talking with big money, with political action committees, with super PACs, and that um, really kind of puts you in a position to jeopardize, or not that one would, but no one should be in a position where you can use a public office to kind of line your pocket and enrich yourself. So I would propose that one of the big things that we need is term limits, 2 terms, just like the presidency, and that's it. And I think you shouldn't be able to run for that seat again. Like I run as a senator from California, and I can serve for two terms. And once those 2 terms are gone, that's it. You serve. It was a civic duty that you did. You served your nation, you know? And I think that should also be the same. We need to have direct democracy. We have the electoral college. Tonight is like nothing's happening tonight. December 19th is actually the important date when the electors get together and to elect a president. So the government a fail safe switch. Like if I think George Washington even said, what if they were to elect a demagogue, you know? So this was the purpose, and the very thing that the electoral college was designed to stop stop from from happening is the thing that made possible. It was the electoral college that made Donald Trump the president. It wasn't the popular vote. So we've had attempts before in the U.S. history, and a couple of times we actually became pretty close. I think it was in the 80s. Correct me if I'm wrong, and electoral college. So I think we need to get rid of the electoral college, and I'm gonna pass it back to you guys now. But I
Well,
think
you're from California, of course you think that.
right. I mean, it's not fair to have 40 million people in California. Actually, my vote as a Californian has less weight than someone from Wyoming.
Well, why not keep it but use it differently?
Well, I
I
saw.
think that's kind of the way that things are going.
I saw a map the other day on one of the crazier, or I guess not so crazy, suggestions that I don't know who came up with this, but it was a restructured map of the United States. Now it was still 50 states, but it was 50 states of equal population. That would be
The electors would do wonders. I think it would change the way politicians campaign. Um, Certain regions would suddenly lose their other regions they definitely pay more attention to. I think.
right. I mean, this is all kind of goes back to slave, our compromise on because the articles of confederacy weren't working, so we had the Constitution, and then you had the three-fifths clause. I don't think that that no that I don't think it any longer reflects values and where they stand. So um, yes, we had houses, the House of Representatives, the lower house of Congress, proportional to population, but then you know everybody knows the story. The states with lower populations were kind of lamenting and bemoaning that they weren't represented fairly. So we're like, okay, but every state also gets two senators, which is the higher
Mhm.
the upper house chamber of our Congress. I don't think that is working. And one of the things we're going to notice with more polarization, more social media, which leads to divided states of America. I think with that we're going to see this every election cycle. Every 4 years, we're going to have a situation where the winner of the popular vote is not going to be the winner or the president, right? So, and we saw it with Bush, we saw that with Trump and Clinton. I don't know if we'll be. I don't think we'll be seeing that tonight because I think Joe Biden is ahead by 6 million votes, but he's also very.
Is it up to 6 million now?
Last I wrote up here, I don't know if you guys can see this back here. 63 million was for Donald Trump, and 69 million had gone to Joe Biden.
That we organize our country. And at that time, our Senate was actually appointed by our state legislators, and states meant something because they were actually, that could be interesting as well. But it depends what you want to do. And if the goal is to try to elect more Democrats, then no doubt you want to change all of that to make it popular vote only. And these things can change over time. I know there's conversation about trying to get DC and Puerto Rico statehood. I know that was discussed, assuming these are going to be Democratic battlegrounds, but man, you don't know how the pendulum will swing in a couple of years. And I think having a
We have John Fassett. He's a professor at the University of Graz. He's a good friend.
So I'll drop in, I'll drop out, and you pull this guy in, and then I'll come back in later.
No, I mean yeah, but however, yeah, whatever you prefer.
By the way, I'm drinking Prosecco, not because of any event, but I've had this in my fridge for a long time and it's locked down and I got to get a refill.
Hey, cheers! It's a good night to have a drink.
Well, I mean, especially after the last, 2-3 days, guys, what's in Austria, it hasn't been very nice.
Right. Absolutely not. No. But there were a lot of heroic events that came out of it. There was the Austrian guy who told them basically like, get out of here, you a hole, in Viennese, very Viennese dialect. The bleeding, which were really interesting because he talked about his experience as a Muslim in Austria. He said that he had been neighborhood or in this community, and then this is the guy that probably saves you or your son's life when they're interesting. Anyway, so I'm gonna make this phone call now. Anyway, I wanted to come back to what you were saying. You said tonight. Well, that is the repudiation or like a rebuke. Trivial is being discussed. There's a vote on something very trivial, or maybe something that is very of utmost importance that everybody can agree on, like the stimulus package. Where are you, John? All right. So I will have to. I hope I can queue. John.
Hey,
Hi, welcome to our election event. I think I somehow hung up on the. Could I, Yael and if Yael and oh wait, join call. Okay, good. So John, I'm trying to make sure this I can join these calls all together. Can you see me? Oh wait. Okay, so merge calls.
Auto legalized cannabis, California much the same. I think there's a lot that can be done there and a lot learned, and I really do like that type of system. Not thing, obviously, you have to keep in mind constitutional rights. You know, we can't have majorities or minorities trampling on the rights of others in our society, but at least a very interesting mechanism in the American system.
Okay, so I'm going to. Why is this call not ending? Okay, so I'm gonna call everyone in this group. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I'm gonna have. Yes, I'm accepting the call. All right, so sorry about the Wisconsin and Michigan were also called for Biden. I'm pretty sure you're more informed than I am because I've been on this call for a while now.
It's strongly blue, but I was really relieved that my home state didn't switch to Trump this year. And I was surprised about how close it was in Wisconsin as well because of the polls had Biden so much farther ahead.
The screen right now behind me. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's 137, but that's not taking into account the 10 electoral college votes for Wisconsin. We have Lester Holt right now. Um, so yeah, they're talking about the Milwaukee. It seems like we're actually going to have some results tonight. Is Yael still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. So it seems like John Yao. I think we're going to find out tonight. Uh, but again, we were just discussing this with Yao before. Battleground states probably. Biden has indicated that he's definitely going to be ready to fight those challenges. What do you think is how probable those arguments because they're very
Yeah,
basic.
that's what I've read for the most part that um, for some of these things earlier in the election, and that they're going to count all these late ballots, and they've already decided these things. So I don't know where he can what basis he has to sue or take it to court or anything like that. So there's none. But he's sued everybody his whole career. So
Right.
just so who knows? But I think hopefully our system is strong enough that it can not that he won't be able to actually get away with it, something like that.
Lawyers, this is not good. It doesn't really bring confidence to our system. And I think, really, like I stated earlier, Florida has done a good job in bringing that did not breed much confidence. And now that we're still talking about confidence all these months later is pretty worrying.
Well, it's hard to if Trump is
try to go for re-election, and there's still a way that we can hopefully democratically, settle this instead of going for the courts.
But it's kind of odd or surprising to me that the voter turnout is like the highest in like the history or like 150 years or something, and it's still so close. I assumed that if voter turnout increased, that it would be all these people that didn't like the direction, or at least didn't like Trump as the leader, and so it would be a huge blowout. But it seems like a lot of people just think it's okay what Trump does.
Institutions in our ability to be able to say that we can elect a president, right? And and then not have to worry about the other side just kind of throwing their hands in the air and saying, well, there's millions of people voting illegally. Which people in his own administration have come out and said there is absolutely no evidence to suggest that anyone is voting fraudulently. All the experts have come out and said that voter suppression is a much, much bigger problem than voter fraud. And, zero instances of, there has been voter intimidation this election.
Out there with guns and stuff. It's pretty bad.
Right, right. So I don't know. We were discussing before things you would change about our constitution and also about the way we do politics, the way we elect, and the way we enact laws and the way we enforce laws. Obviously, there's a lot that needs to be done. There's a lot that needs to be changed. So I think Gial and I both agreed on term limits. These are the common denominators, or where we found common ground. What are your thoughts on this?
I feel like it's also important though for these people to have experience because I think there's a lot that you have to learn and understand about the laws and the way you know you know whatever bills happen and all these small details that probably take some time. So I'm not super excited about term limits. I don't like the idea of
The voters, were able to get what the amount was. It was something like $2,000 that you could download that you could send to any candidate that you wanted. And Oregon did just pass a ballot, Profit, I believe, that has a campaign contribution, something like this. And it's this kind of strange where because of the Citizens United case, you have all these independent expenditures allowed. So you, as the coordinate with the candidate, can start a I don't know, pro science, anti Trump, or whatever, something group, and it's fine, and there's no check on your money.
yeah.
So then what do you do there? And
Right.
where does and yeah,
Yeah, they say they're not, these things aren't, whatever, supporting a certain candidate, but you can tell just by the things they talk about in their commercials that they really are. They're just not
well,
saying that
they can support the candidates, they just can't coordinate with the campaigns
they
legally.
coordinate. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and one thing that is interesting there is that you do have a lot of these groups that they came out, and the Lincoln Project is probably the bigger one that made headlines, mostly because like all these ex-Republicans were against Trump, and it actually just turned out to be a huge money-making enterprise. Like all these guys were billing the organization, hundreds of thousands of dollars through their consulting firm, all getting. And a lot of Democrats were spending a lot of money, making the former GOP guys rich, which is a very rich thing at the end of the day. But I don't know. I don't know about the money question. I think these vouchers that have been discussed in Washington, I wouldn't necessarily support that. I've donated to candidates in the past, mostly third party, right? But I do think, you know, it is a way to perhaps get out a message, but I think social media totally changes that game. So you don't even need to have these TV ads, right?
might be, there's probably a lot more going into, and it's a lot cheaper, so the social messaging.
There's no did not allow that at all. Facebook limited it up until 1 week of the election, and that people like Greenpeace, as much as it affects a pro-Trump group. So it's this kind of strange world where we're putting all these restrictions, and we assume they're just going to stop the bad guys, quote unquote, but it actually does harm a lot of people. I think we just don't know how to deal with that. I don't see any good legislation from the states. I haven't really seen much. Normally, there are some good answers from some of the states, but I really haven't seen that when it comes to money and advertising.
Yeah, everything that's probably hard to keep up with.
Yeah, there's something to be said though. I still do, our laboratories of democracy. I think this is still a very good and interesting thing. And isn't it crazy that this is one of the only times where we talk about the differences between the states?
Right.
It's election time. It's so crazy. It's different from how it used to be. That now you can go. You can. There are a lot of people who live in Oregon but work in Washington. Same with California, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia. I mean, there's all this kind of migration that happens in telecommuting and all the rest. It's like Luxembourg, all these people coming in from France. I think it's like Luxembourg swells up to 3 million people, during the day, and back to 500,000 at night. It's crazy.
Wow.
So, guys, sorry, did I interrupt?
No, sir, you're the host.
I wanted to kind of talk about one of the things I was thinking about the other day, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I was thinking that since the Constitution kind of basically has two prerequisites or requirements for the president, and that is to be a U.S. born citizen, which the Supreme Court has never actually defined as to what that means. Or you could be, generally trying to do in his bid for presidency because he was born in Canada, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, boy,
So,
like me. Hell yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. My sister lives in Canada now. She's married to a Canadian guy, and when the age, the average life expectancy was about 40, somewhere in the 40s. And so I'm thinking, if there's so you have to be 35 years old and a U.S. born citizen. If there is a cap, right, a lower cap, I wholeheartedly believe that there also should be an end cap, a higher cap. Cutting it off at 60. I know it's ageist, but the president still needs to have a sharp mind. And listening to these two senile grandpas, you know, I'm just afraid, one of them may have a heart attack just these results. So, and
Decide if the person's competent or not, no matter how old they are. It ended up like this in this weird situation.
He qualified, to run for a position like that. Brings a lot of world experience. Someone who is very bipartisan, running a huge state, and he can't run. And John McCain, who was born in the Panama Canal, somehow was able to run. But that is crazy. Age limits, I think 35 is probably good. Maybe you can lower that position. I think I answered that on some ancient post. If I look back at political science classes, anybody got elected from that, I'd be running scared. I'd be immigrating, day one if any of these people got in. But I think those are civic questions that are. I think it's different in the States. Austria is different because you have a lot of these candidates that are basically in politics their entire lives. And I say that, Christopidiko is from the Neos, he's a friend of mine, and I was in a debate club with him, and he's 30 years old and, likely going to be the vice, mayor of Vienna. And with Kurz, and I think I like the American system because it rewards those who've had other experience, either in business or another government or some kind of other industry. They at least
are very, very dim right now and have pretty much diminished. Looking at Susan Collins of Maine, you know, securing his seat against Gideon, and in Ossoff in Georgia. So, what? Why do you think this election was so close? Why do you think? Because I think one of the things that Democrats didn't take into consideration is that the Republicans and Donald Trump supporters kind of matched them in enthusiasm and excitement, kind of neck to neck, right? Which is the same in the results of this election when you look at it. So, where is the disconnect? What did they overlook? What do you guys actually think is the primary or principal factor in what we're seeing tonight?
To me, I
I'm pretty much following the same. Can we? Sorry, guys. Can we? Can you close this door, please? Most from Donald Trump's presidency, and he's particularly specifically, I'm talking about. I'm trying to keep this very bipartisan and very foster inclusion, so I don't want to get too much into who I voted for and why. But I felt that Donald Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic is really left a sour taste in
stuff like that are just mad that they're canceled the high school football, things like that. So I think they blame, when Trump says he wants us to open everything back up, I think there's a lot of people that are just tired of this lockdown and mad about this lockdown. So, and maybe that's, I don't know, maybe those people don't think he mishandled it. Maybe those people think that.
Yeah, and I guess to answer, one of your questions, if we look at Florida, I think that gives us a very good indication. And if you look at or have that positive memory in their family, it's not something they were looking for, and it's not Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden was actually the anti-populist, the more moderate guy throughout the primaries. It's represent. And I do think this year, yes, people were voting Trump to beat Biden, but I do think a lot of people were looking at their locuses as well and maybe making up their minds as well there. So I think it's this brand of identity politics, and I don't think that's an original sort of critique that I'm making. I think it's sort of brought up, and definitely was a huge part of the primaries for the Democrats. So there's a lot of that was brought up that just turns off a lot of people. And to see upticks in numbers for African Americans and Hispanics for Trump, I don't know if it's because of that or solely the economic numbers, jobs. That could well be a part of it, but I think the Democrats just have people along to our cause, because America on the whole, much like Austria, is a center right. Kamala Harris, who, let's just think about it. Age question, Kamala Harris, vice president, that might be on a lot of people's minds too. This is someone who has been fairly radical in many ways. Some people might agree with it, others will disagree. But I think that's also we're very interested in that. Maybe he didn't have as much president, maybe he wasn't as well known. I mean, he was a guy who was super private and was the private citizen, and ran actually one of the last Democrats. Really interesting. Had Yang, kind of push further along.
The Democrats are going to get control of all three branches of government. That did not happen, and we need to discuss. We go from here. So, what do you, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so I think that Mr. Trump was being a lot to whatever it is between the parties and things like that, just with rhetoric, blaming Democrat-run cities and things like that all the time, and whatever, just the way he's always belittling people, and people take note of that, act the same way. And that's what's disturbing, is that so many people can see that and say, yeah, that's okay. To me, that my only hope is that when Biden is elected, he's going to say that he's the president for the United States and moves everybody, and he's not going to blame certain groups or whatever issues and things like that. Maybe that'll go to smooth things over a little bit. We have 4 years of kind of normal behavior. It's going to be kind of politics as usual stuff, but at least it won't be so far off as Trump. That's my hope, is that it'll get better. That will kind of go back a little bit towards normal.
Absolutely.
I'm probably biased because of the Democrat. This started with this whole the Tea Party and things like that, and just say we're going to sign waivers. If you used to have any tax increases, you have to sign this thing, things like that. It all started there, and then Mitch McConnell said we're going to make sure long-term president. It's like when you started becoming very antagonistic towards. I think all the antagonism began when Obama got elected. 2000, started to get really bad. Maybe it was bad the year before with Bush and the Iraq War. I think it's been moving this way for a while, but it's just the worst I heard.
Very interesting people. I was there more as a journalist, not my reporting. But it is true that awakened something in the citizenry that was a bit different than we had seen. It was like sort of a kind of large political force. I think there was a lot of hope that would have come up during the George Bush reign, but you really just didn't see that level of
John, for joining. This has been by far one of the most productive and most constructive talks I've had. Got together and they were singing USA something or God bless America. They were singing God bless America outside of one of the polling stations, and that was the few small, minuscule, heartwarming, moments that I this election. So I think we have a long way to go, and again, we are three people with very different ideas and visions for the future of America, and what is American, and how we feel like the way forward should be. But I think, yeah, I have a bottle of, and now it's our show. The somebody's still watching us.